This is the incredible forensic story of how a few crucial hairs helped unravel a mystery that had stumped police for 13 years. It's a story not just about catching a killer, but about how science itself evolved to deliver a justice that once seemed impossible. For over a decade, a desolate stretch of Ocean Parkway on Long Island held one of America's most haunting modern mysteries. Between 2010 and 2011, the discovery of multiple sets of human remains sparked a sprawling investigation into a ghost, a phantom who became known as the Gilgo Beach Killer. The years that followed were a painful chronicle of dead ends, fading hopes, and mounting frustration for both law enforcement and the victims' families. The killer, it seemed, had committed the perfect crimes, leaving behind a trail of sorrow but virtually no forensic evidence. Except, he made one microscopic mistake. He left a single strand of hair. For years, that hair was a silent, useless witness. But what investigators couldn't have known was that within this single strand lay a revolutionary key, a genetic secret that, when unlocked by new technology, would connect a decade of darkness to a discarded pizza box and finally to a name, Rex Heuermann. The story begins in December 2010. A police officer and his canine partner were out searching for Shannon Gilbert, a 24-year-old woman who had vanished in the area 7 months earlier. During that search, they stumbled upon a grim discovery near Gilgo Beach, the skeletal remains of a woman wrapped in burlap. Within days, 3 more bodies were found in the same vicinity, all women. 3 of the 4 were found wrapped in the same coarse material. They became known as the Gilgo 4, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, and Maureen Brainard-Barnes. The discovery sent a shockwave through Long Island. The investigation expanded, and by the spring of 2011, authorities had unearthed the remains of at least 10 individuals, their cases spanning years, some even decades. The area became a grim map of unsolved homicides, and the identity of the killer remained a complete unknown. Investigators were faced with a daunting challenge. The outdoor crime scenes, exposed to the harsh coastal elements for years, had degraded most potential evidence. There were no obvious murder weapons and no witnesses to the crimes themselves. The killer was a ghost. Leads went cold, theories multiplied, and for more than a decade the case files gathered dust. The families of the victims were left in an agonizing limbo, waiting for a breakthrough that seemed like it would never come. All the while, the killer was hiding in plain sight, a man later described by a police commissioner as a demon that walks among us. Amidst the scant evidence, a few items held a glimmer of potential. On the burlap sack used to wrap 22-year-old Megan Waterman, investigators found something impossibly small, a single male hair. In 2010, this was a frustratingly limited clue. The hair shaft didn't have a root, which is the best source for traditional DNA analysis. All forensics could tell at the time was that it likely belonged to a Caucasian male, but without a suspect's DNA to directly compare it to, it was useless for identification. The hair couldn't be run through CODIS, the National DNA Database, to find a match. It was a lead that led nowhere, so the hair was carefully preserved, a piece of a puzzle with no corresponding parts, locked away in an evidence vault. For years it sat there, a silent witness to a brutal crime, holding a story it couldn't yet tell. Other key evidence, like hairs found on other victims, also waited. Investigators had no idea that these seemingly insignificant pieces of evidence would one day become the linchpin of their entire case, patiently waiting for science to catch up to their secrets. The break in the case wouldn't come from a new witness or a shocking confession. It came from a laboratory. By the 2000s and 20s, forensic science had undergone a quiet revolution centered on 2 powerful technologies: mitochondrial DNA analysis and investigative genetic genealogy. First, let's talk about mitochondrial DNA, or mtDNA. Unlike the nuclear DNA we often hear about, which is a unique mix from both parents, mtDNA is passed down almost unchanged from a mother to her children. This makes it an incredibly powerful tool because there are hundreds or even thousands of mitochondria in each cell. Their DNA is far more abundant and robust than nuclear DNA. It can survive for years in conditions that would destroy traditional DNA evidence, like in an old degraded hair shaft without a root. While mtDNA can't pinpoint a single individual, it can definitively link a person to a maternal family line. In 2020, investigators submitted the male hair from Megan Waterman's burlap sack for this advanced analysis. The new technology successfully extracted an mtDNA profile. They now had a genetic signature. The next step was figuring out who it belonged to. This is where investigative genetic genealogy came in, the same technique used to catch the Golden State Killer. Investigators upload the genetic profile to public genealogy databases, where people voluntarily share their DNA to build family trees. By finding distant relatives who shared parts of the same DNA, they could build a family tree backward in time and then forward again, until they narrowed the possibilities down to a single family or even a single person. In early 2022, a newly formed Gilgo Beach task force was looking at the case with fresh eyes and these new tools. Their work with genetic genealogy on the male hair pointed them toward a family with the last name Hoyerman. Cross-referencing this with other evidence, they zeroed in on one man, Rex Hoyerman, an architect who lived in Massapequa Park, just a short drive from where the bodies were found, and worked in Manhattan. The name set off alarm bells. A key witness in the disappearance of Amber Costello back in 2010 had described a client's vehicle, a first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche. Records showed Rex Hoyerman owned that exact type of truck at the time. Suddenly, the pieces started to fit. Investigators also began analyzing burner phone records from the time of the murders. They discovered that calls made to the victims originated from cell tower locations that corresponded with Hoyerman's home in Massapequa Park and his office in Midtown Manhattan. Hoyerman became their prime suspect, and an intense period of surveillance began. The critical moment, the one that would tie everything together, came on January 26, 2023. While under surveillance in Manhattan, agents watched as Rex Hoyerman walked down the street and tossed a pizza box into a public garbage can. Investigators immediately recovered the box. Inside, they found a few leftover pizza crusts. Those crusts were rushed to the Suffolk County Crime Laboratory. Forensic scientists extracted a DNA sample and compared it to the mitochondrial DNA profile from that male hair found on Megan Waterman 13 years earlier. On June 12, 2023, they got the confirmation they had been working towards for over a decade. Now, mtDNA doesn't single out one person, but it's great for ruling people out. The lab results showed the DNA from the pizza crust belonged to the same maternal family line as the hair on the victim. The probability was staggering. 99.96% of the North American population could be excluded as the source of that hair, but Rex Hoyerman could not. On the evening of July 13, 2023, Rex Hoyerman was arrested in Midtown Manhattan. The next day, he was charged with the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. He pleaded not guilty. In January 2024, he was also charged with the murder of the fourth victim of the Gilgo 4, Maureen Brainard-Barnes. The timeline of the alleged crimes then expanded dramatically. In June 2024, Hoyerman was charged with two more murders. Jessica Taylor from 2003 and Sandra Costilla, whose death in 1993 had never previously been linked to the Gilgo case. Then, in December 2024, he was charged with a seventh murder, that of Valerie Mack from 2000. This suggested the killings may have started far earlier than anyone had realized. In court filings, prosecutors also revealed the discovery of a Microsoft Word file on a hard drive in Hoyerman's basement, which they described as a planning document used to methodically blueprint his killings. Despite the mounting evidence, Hoyerman maintains his innocence, and his defense team has challenged the admissibility of the novel DNA techniques being used. As of mid-2025, Hoyerman remains in custody awaiting trial, which is not expected to begin until 2026 at the earliest. The Gilgo Beach case is a powerful story about forensic innovation and the tireless persistence of investigators, but many cold cases across the country are still waiting for their breakthrough. What are your thoughts on using genetic genealogy to solve crimes? Do the potential rewards for solving cases like this outweigh the privacy concerns? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story fascinating, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of true crime. The story of the Gilgo Beach Murders is a chilling look at the darkness that can hide in plain sight. But it's also a story of incredible hope. It shows how a few microscopic threads of evidence, once considered dead ends, can endure through time. That one hair, preserved and protected for over a decade, became the silent witness that finally spoke. Combined with cutting-edge science and the relentless dedication of a new generation of investigators, it unraveled a case